If you only had 3, maybe 4 words to describe exactly what you do in a way that would catch the attention of specifically the people that you can help, what would those words be? It's very interesting. I was looking through, this is 1997, April, and I was going down this path. I was really studying copy. I've mentioned in an earlier video about the 4 most important words: you, get, benefit, now, from Jeffrey Lant. And so I really took that to heart. I started putting everything through that filter of what are the most powerful words. Well, I grew up in Toronto, and there was a gentleman in Toronto who became very famous in the 90s. He's still famous to this day, super rich. And he built his whole empire around 4 words: I buy your gold. Now, if you grew up in Toronto, you know immediately that I'm talking about Russell Oliver. And I reached out to Russell in 1997 because I wanted to interview him for an article and a recording in our by referral only monthly magazine. And by the way, as an aside, having a media property, having a podcast, having a magazine, having something is a wonderful gateway to reach out to people. That's how I met Robert Cialdini. That's how I met a lot of these people, Don Peppers, Martha Rogers, who wrote the One-to-One Future, because I called them up. And most people are very open to that. But here's what was fascinating as I started reflecting here, looking at the power of a few words to describe exactly what you do. So I buy your gold. Russell would run radio and television ads blanketing the Toronto area, and he spent over, at that time, $1 million a year on advertising. But everybody knew he was one of the most famous people in Toronto because of his kind of outrageous way of saying these things. He was a South African gentleman, so he would say it. He had this booming voice, and his accent is, I'm Russell Oliver, and I buy your gold. And then everything about it, even your old broken gold, your gold teeth, your gold chains, your 14 karat gold, 10 karat gold, 12 karat gold, broken gold. I don't care about what the gold is. Bring it in and I'll buy it. And he's showing cash. That was his whole product. And everybody knew that if you wanted to sell gold, you could go to Russell Oliver and he would sell it. Now, buy it. And I started thinking, as I'm looking back on this, about all the ways that I've used that kind of articulation, that you get benefit now, in many of the things that I've done. I think about, we haven't heard about it yet, but coming soon, I read a book called Stop Your Divorce. Crystal clear what that is about when you hear those words. I've written a book called Convert More Leads and another book called Get More Leads. I have money-making websites, money-making marketing. All of these things that I've really taken a real care to do this, and I've used it in many different, unrelated to real estate or marketing things. I had a friend who still is he's one designer on our team, and he did these amazing pencil portraits. And we did up these little business cards with a little image, and it said, original pencil portraits, $99. And just would distribute those cards all over the place, and people would call him and commission him to do portraits. And I think that those little business cards cost, I don't know what it is, but the multiple, the return on that ad spend of all of the people that did portraits with him was amazing. So if you think about it, one of the best exercises that you could do is to think through what would be the best way for me to articulate what I do in 3 or 4 words. And if you can own those words as a powerful thing, that alone creates an anchor that is appealing to your ideal audience, you can use it as the foundation to amplify and build all those other things. It's what weaves all the way through cash copy. And by the way, use those words, or you're going to find that they're nouns and verbs and benefit. That's the thing that is going to be the most powerful words that you can use. And when you restrict your thinking to condense to that laser point exactly what it is that you do, that even if it takes 6 or 7 or maybe 10 words to convey, that articulation is going to set you up for everything. Because if you get those right, people will be immediately drawn to you because they'll see themselves in it. And if you don't get them right, it doesn't matter what you say after them, because nobody's going to pay attention. Nobody's going to listen to what you're saying. We'll get into, as we start reading breakthrough advertising, that's one of the biggest things, is all of this comes down to it. They don't just roll off the tongue. It's not just about the first 3 or 4 words that come to your mind about what your business is. You may write pages and pages of understanding and going through the exercise that we did yesterday of getting inside the mind of your prospects to then condense all that down and say, what do they really want? How can I condense this into the most powerful words that I can? Stop your divorce. Those 3 words have been literally worth millions of dollars because they speak exactly to the right person. So I'm an advocate for narrowing your thinking like this. And I love that putting in the time to really think it through and come up with those powerful 3 words. It may seem like it's a disproportionate amount of effort, all of that work that you're doing ahead of time to go through and get inside the mind of what your people really want, and what you have to show for it is 3 or 4 words. That sounds like a lot of effort to go through those 3 or 4 words, but it's completely worth it. I got a funny email the other day from Rick. It says, Dean, question. Are you saying you can teach me to make fat stacks by hanging out at a pub, drinking coffee like you? And I laughed to myself because I was thinking, yes, I can do that. That's what I do. Is the funny thing, what I really realized is that every idea that I've had, every dollar that I've made over the last 30 years has gone through my brain, through my pen, onto a piece of paper in my journal before it went out into the real world. And if I can turn people onto that activity as a driver for what to do, what to think about, what to ask yourself to draw out what the next most valuable action is for you, and how to find the most profitable things that you can install in your business, I'm all for it. So this Friday at 1 p.m., I'm going to do, for the first time, a 50-minute Profit Finder workshop. And you're going to join me live on Zoom, and we're going to go through a 50-minute exercise. Bring your pen, bring a notebook or piece of paper, and I'm going to guide you through a thinking process that will help you identify where the lowest hanging fruit is in your business, and maybe some fruit that you didn't even know was there, but I'm going to show you where to look for it. So it's free. It's for you. It's Friday at 1 p.m. this Friday. Just go to, what did we call the website, Josh?
50-minute profit finder.
Just go to 50minuteprofitfinder.com and I'll get you all the details, and hopefully you can join us then Friday, 1 p.m.